Call tonight's council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Council members Costello.
Here.
Jameson.
Here.
Knutson. Here. Litz.
Here.
Staggers.
Present.
Anderson.
Here.
Benega.
Here.
Brown.
Here. We have a quorum present for tonight's meeting. Tonight will be led in the invocation by Reverend Randy Rasmussen from Emmanuel Baptist Church in Sioux Falls. After the invocation, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, so I'd ask everyone to please rise.
Let's pray together. Our living and loving Lord, we gather here tonight for the common good of our community, thankful for those who are willing to serve honorably. We pray that you would bless the mayor, the council, and the staff as they fulfill their responsibilities to the citizens of our city. We pray for your blessing upon this meeting. We pray for thoughtfulness in our resolutions, courtesy in our discussions, sincerity in our motives, and wisdom in our decisions. We pray you would bless our community with harmony in our neighborhoods, truth in our schools, integrity in our commerce, and benevolence in our charities. For those public servants who daily sacrifice their well-being to maintain order and respond to crisis, we pray you would bless them with safety and strength for their duties. Now, Lord, with the assurance that you hold our community in the palm of your almighty hand, we pray you would bless each one here according to your good and perfect purposes. In the name of Christ I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a proclamation night for Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week, and I'd like to invite Melanie Bliss and then Julie Becker and Tamara Jerky to come up, please. Okay, we have a proclamation that reads, whereas the Sioux Empire Homeless Coalition works as an advocate to end homelessness, and whereas the Sioux Empire Homeless Coalition strives to educate the public on the complexities of homelessness and poverty, whereas the Sioux Empire Homeless Coalition advocates for safe, affordable housing, and whereas the Sioux Empire Homeless Coalition advocates for adequate programs that lead to permanent housing, whereas the Homeless Coalition is a grassroots organization that rallies community efforts to end homelessness in the Sioux Empire. Now, therefore, I, Dave Munson, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim November 16th through November 21st, 2009, as Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week in Sioux Falls. Congratulations. Okay, we'll begin with the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Let's
moves. There's a second?
Second.
Jameson, second. Is there further motions, comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor, vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Council members Costello.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Benega.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
All members present have voted. The consent agenda has been approved 8-0. Is there a motion to approve the regular agenda?
I so move Knutson.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second. Let's
Seconds. Now, is there further motions?
Okay. I move to move items 27 below item 18 or after item 18 and item 26 prior to item 10.
Okay, everybody understand that's a double motion that he's got? Is there a second to that motion?
Second, let's.
Let's second it. So we've got a motion made second to move item 27 after 18 and then move item 26 before item 10. All in favor of that motion to do that will vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Council members Costello,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Benega.
Yes.
That motion has been approved 8-0. Any
Brown
further-
votes yes, too.
Pardon?
I didn't get to vote on
Brown.
that one. Yes.
I saved the best for last.
I'm glad we got there. Thank you. Any other motions? Not. We've got a motion made to approve the regular agenda as amended. All in favor of that motion to approve as amended will vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Council members Costello,
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Benega.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
All members present have voted. The regular agenda is approved as amended 8-0. Okay, now we're at 26.
Public input.
Yeah, that's right. Anyone wishing to address the council for a period of 5 minutes, we ask you to just come forward and give your name and any topic that you have interest. Anyone wishes to address the council at public input? Looking, I see no one that is coming forward at this time. Okay, come forward and give your name, please.
My name is Dan Lee, and I'm with Pettigrew Heights Neighborhood Outreach. And I was asked by a friend to come here today and just present a thought to you. And that is, I commend you. I keep hearing good things about things that are going on in the city and the forward thinking of the city council. Specifically the convention center and new plans to build new and better facilities. I just want you to consider and ask you to think about the people for whom a can of soup, which may cost $1, would constitute a meal for a family, and that raising any taxes in Sioux Falls would directly impact those people that are purchasing food and other necessities the most. It would, of course, impact all of us, but those people that are hurting, especially in tough times of recession, any raise in sales tax specifically would hurt us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Others that wish to address? Go ahead.
Daniel, I just wanted to say, first of all, thanks for coming tonight. You probably realize the city council does not have the authority to raise any taxes, and so the city council, all of us, including the mayor, we will not be raising a sales tax. Is what the proposal that some of us up here are very interested in to help build an event center is to see if the South Dakota legislature would allow every community in South Dakota to have its own citizens vote on whether or not to raise the sales tax 1 penny for a very limited period of time. And so I just wanted to share that for any misconception out there.
Understood. I understand the misconception there. However, if we're asking the state legislature to make the change, then we're obviously considering that change ourselves, and so in the future that will be something that we're looking at. So.
Yes, and again, not in an argumentative fashion, but just to say that someone like me is most interested in that option being out there for every person in Sioux Falls to vote on. But at that point, if we ever get that far, your vote will count just as much as my vote and no more than that. So as a city councilor, I believe that the citizens of Sioux Falls are in the best position to decide whether or not to tax themselves anymore to replace aging facilities.
Thank you.
Thank you. Others that wish to address the council for a period of 5 minutes, come forward. Just give your name, please.
My name's Tim Stanga. I guess I'm the same way he is. You know, I think that you say it's going to be brought up to the vote of the people, but obviously this, if I'm correct, is you guys that are going to ask the legislature to add on a penny sales tax to be able to make up for the event center. But I'm hoping that the people with the event center come out straight with the people and say how much we're going to have to subsidize that event center to get it going, how much it's going to cost to subsidize the arena after we get the event center going. And I just think that they should come out clean and just tell the citizens on what it's going to cost them, really cost them, not just what the infatuated number that they're coming up with. And two, the sewage deal with Harrisburg. I don't know, I grew up in Sioux Falls all my life, and my mom and dad paid in this for I don't know how many years. I've been paying into it for 30 years, and now, we're going to bring in Harrisburg. It's either going to be a short term or it's going to be a long term for the citizens of Sioux Falls, to where we're going to bring in more sewage. So then we're going to have to add on to the facility faster than we normally would just in the Sioux Falls area. And what's it going to cost? Are we going to subsidize that too? We're going to subsidize bringing Harrisburg in to, so we have to take care of their waste? And are they going to be paying the same amount, same rate that we are as citizens of Sioux Falls, or are they going to get a lower fee? That's my question.
Thank you. Others that wish to address the council for a period of 5 minutes? I see no one that is coming forward, so we will move into the regular agenda. Item 26.
Item 26 is deferred action from the meeting of November 9th, 2009. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and the City of Harrisburg for utilization of the wastewater collection and treatment facility of Sioux Falls.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Public Works is continuing to work with the IRAB Board on this item, as well as Harrisburg, and we would offer tonight that we would support a deferral to no later than December 7th.
I make a motion for deferral on this item until December 7th.
No later than December 7th, okay?
No later than December 7th.
Knudsen made the motion. Is there a second?
Second. Let's.
Costello seconded. Further comments on the motion to defer until no later than December 7th for item number 26? Not all in favor of that motion, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Council members Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knudsen?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yep.
Brown?
Yes.
All members present have voted. That item has been deferred until no later than December 7th. Item 10.
Item 10 is the transfer of a 2009-2010 retail malt beverage license from Larry Lang Michael's Steakhouse, 2501 West Russell Street, to Epiphany Desserts LLC, Michael's, to be operated at 2501 West Russell Street with a conditional use permit 9412-2 being approved in 1994. Item 11 is a transfer of a 2009 retail wine license from Larry Lang Michael's Steakhouse, 2501 West Russell Street, to Epiphany Desserts LLC, Michael's, to be operated at 2501 West Russell Street with a conditional use permit 9412-2 being approved in 1994. Item number 12 is a special one-day liquor license for Catering America Chef Dominique's Catering to be operated at the Delbridge Museum of Natural History, 805 South Kiwanis Avenue, on December 12, 2009 for a holiday party. Item 13 is a special one-day liquor license for Washington Pavilion Management Incorporated, Washington Pavilion of Arts and Science, 301 South Main Avenue, to be held on December 18, 2009 for a reception. Item 14 is a special one-day wine license for Greater Sioux Falls Coalition on Aging to be operated at the Trail Ridge Retirement Community, 3408 West Ralph Rogers Road, on December 5, 2009 for a Habitat fundraiser, no room at the inn. Item 15 is various retail liquor, packaged liquor, and retail wine license renewals for 2010 to be operated at various locations in the city of Sioux Falls, identified as Exhibit A.
Thank you, Tamara. Lori Hogstead with the City Attorney's Office, representing items 10 through 15. The only comments I have are on item 15, which are the first set of renewals for retail liquor, packaged liquor, and retail wine. I do have 3 that have stipulations. And the 3 are retail liquor. The first one is for Q Club, Inc. for Lucky's at 224 South Phillips Avenue. That would be pending corrections per fire. The other one is for TNT Entertainment for Wiley's Tavern at 330 North Main, number 201, also pending corrections per fire. And then Ovations Food Services, LP, for the Sioux Falls Convention Center, 1211 Northwest Avenue, also pending corrections per fire. And I can answer questions on items 10 through 15.
Questions of Lori on items 10 through 15. Is there others that wish to address the council on items 10 through 15? Council discussion.
I would just like to note that I think this is the first time in 7.5 years that I've been here that this is the first time I've recognized that we don't have any convictions on the applications.
Well,
coming.
on
They're
this list, we have a second set that's coming before you December 7th, and then the third list, which will come before you 2 weeks after that, will be the list with the underage sales. I wish I could say we didn't have any, but
You
I'm
just
sorry.
ruined my whole night.
I know it.
Mr. Mayor, when does this license, is this at the first of the year that these take effect then, or when is that?
Yes, January 1.
Okay, because I'm looking at our friends down at SIDS there. They had one in 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 9, they haven't had one yet. But, this year is not over, like you said.
Well,
and I'm
you know
wondering
what?
if there should be I'm serious about it, if there should be an
Well-
exception made here to, up until,
No, the standard procedure for these is that we, proceed because they did meet the deadline, they turned in their paperwork. I process it as it comes in a timely manner, and if for some reason they would be unfortunate enough to have an underage sale, we would address that next year at renewal time.
very good. Okay, thank you, Lori.
You bet.
Other questions? Items 10 through 15.
Move for approval, Benninga.
Bennigan moves. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Brown seconds. Further comments on the motion to approve items 10 through 15? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve items 10 through 15, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmember Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson? Yes. Litz?
Yes.
Jaggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
All members present voted. Items 10 through 15 have been approved 8-0. Item 16.
Item 16 is an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising Appendix 3 regarding campgrounds.
Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. This is a City Council-initiated amendment to the campground ordinance, which would strike out the 30-day provision, and we are currently working with the council and the campground owners on a more revised campground ordinance that we'll be bringing forward to the Land Use Committee next Monday.
Further questions on item 16? Others?
Yeah, I guess I do have a question. After our 4 o'clock meeting and after our 5 o'clock meeting, it was brought up that in the ordinance here that paragraph I, all campground operators shall keep accurate records as to the length of time a person stays in the campground and shall make said records available to any city official upon request. That maybe we ought to strike that too, because that's what we're trying to do in this ordinance here is to, say that people can stay beyond 30 days. So there is absolutely no need for that. Is that a fair characterization of that, Mike?
I guess my opinion is that I don't think it's necessary tonight because we have sent a follow-up letter to the owner of the Westwick campground that we are going to stay any further action pending the final outcome of the campground ordinance amendments. So,
yeah, but see, what we're doing tonight is we're getting rid of that 30-day.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what we're doing tonight. And that paragraph I does correspond here with this paragraph F that we're leaving.
again, this is a council initiative, so you can do whatever you want tonight.
So maybe I'll ask Bob Litz. Bob is the one that initiated this ordinance. Do you think that's fair? We should maybe get rid of that?
Well, I'm not certain it's necessary that we do. If we get rid of one, the other point becomes moot, and, I'm thinking the State Department of Revenue would probably like to have some record of sales transactions that are going on, so I'm not sure if we should encourage that or not.
No, I guess, once again, this just deals with they have to keep records for the length of time a person stays in the campground.
Well, my question, I guess, would be a technical one, that if we do add that to, our ordinance, do we have to start all over again, thusly missing our deadline?
No, I guess what I'm going to do, for what it's worth, I think I'll just go ahead and, We haven't had so I'll wait until we bring
Okay,
this.
that'd be,
Then I'll have an amendment, if somebody wants to second the amendment.
So, are you offering that as a alternative
Oh, no.
amendment, or we're going to wait until for Land Use Committee to examine it?
No. I'll just bring the amendment later here.
he's going to, I think we're going to wait till we get it. We haven't had a motion to approve item 16 yet.
Very good.
Further questions on item 16? Others that wish to address the council on item 16? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, let's.
Let's move. Is there a second?
Second, Jameson.
Jameson seconded. Further comments, motions on item 16?
Yeah, so at this time, I'll just go ahead and offer this to the city council. I move that an amendment that we delete paragraph I.
Motion is to delete paragraph I. Everybody understands that, the record on that? Is there a second to that motion? That
Okay.
motion dies for lack of a second, so we're back to the main motion to approve item 16. Further comments? Not. All in favor of approving item 16, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmember Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 16 is approved 8-0. Item 17.
Item 17 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of Sioux Falls, South Dakota by adding a Chapter 44 to be entitled Cable Service Regulatory Ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I'll need to abstain from 17, 18, and 27.
It will be noted that Councilmember Brown will be excused from 16, 17, and 27.
17, 18.
Good evening. I'm Karen Leonard. I'm an assistant city attorney. This ordinance that is being considered by you is to add Chapter 44. It's a regulatory ordinance for cable service here in the city of Sioux Falls. It provides for uniform rules and guidelines for cable operators, and before they offer cable service in the city of Sioux Falls, they would need to obtain a franchise from the city. It provides conditions for use of the right-of-ways. It has a flexible build-out requirement. It does expand the definition of gross revenue to include more services. It does allow the city to collect a franchise fee of up to 5%. It has emergency alert system provisions, PEG access channel requirements, meaning public education and governmental access channel requirements. It also requires and has requirements for cable service to our public buildings here in the city. We specifically did exclude OVS operators from this ordinance, and I would like to note that we did open this ordinance up to discussion to various outside groups and had several meetings. I would like to relay that Knology, the OVS operator, does not object to this ordinance as drafted, and Mid-Continent is here with representatives and do not object to the ordinance as drafted. And we also have Adrian Herbst, our city's consultant, here in the audience to answer any other questions regarding this particular ordinance.
Go ahead.
Yes, Karen, you mentioned that Knology does not object to this ordinance, I think, as a whole. But how about the build-out provision?
When we spoke with their attorney, she specifically, I had asked her, given the fact that we had taken OVS out of the ordinance and we're allowing them to operate under their OVS license until 2014, and a compromise was reached just a few weeks ago, adding in a section to the build-out section that allowed current OVS licensees to stay in a partial territory for a period of time until they decided to build out the city. I was told that they did not oppose that provision as drafted since the compromise had been reached.
Yeah, because my understanding is that early on they were opposed to this build-out provision, because the build-out provision makes it extremely difficult for anybody to move into Sioux Falls to compete.
I think, I don't disagree with you, Counselor, and I would certainly open it up for any further input that our consultant would have as well. But we did negotiate this over the last 3-year period of time, and we sat down with Knology for several meetings, I can't tell you how many, to discuss their needs as a business and as well as their position on build-out. And I think that businesses may have different needs than our position as a committee writing the ordinance as a regulatory ordinance for the city. And one of the fundamental reasons that we drafted a build-out provision is that we felt we had a fiduciary duty to the citizens of Sioux Falls, and this is a public right-of-way. And as a result of that, I think the citizens of Sioux Falls should have a reasonable expectation of when they could receive service from their public right-of-way, and not just a portion of that, not just a portions of town, such as just one area of town, such as the northwest section, and the rest of the citizens aren't receiving service. And I would allow Mr. Herbst to expound on that a little bit, but, we incorporated the FCC guidelines because they hear that as well from cable operators, those objections, and so we put in reasonable benchmarks into the ordinance to achieve a build-out of our city.
Because my concern is that we're not following a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens of Sioux Falls, because we're not allowing competition to easily come into Sioux Falls to provide competition for our current cable operator. For example, in Rapid City, they have competition. And I've been told that Midco rates in Rapid City for basic service is cheaper there because of the competition than here in Sioux Falls, where we really don't have any competition. So I'm concerned we're not fulfilling our fiduciary responsibilities to the citizens of Sioux Falls by allowing more competition and lower rates.
If I could, I would like to bring up our consultant to address some of your concerns.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, very good question, actually. I might just say that over the past several years, that's been the most contentious issue of all issues involved with developing in cable, telecom, and so on. As you probably know, we now use the term broadband because the typical cable operator that just provided television programming is no longer the case. You now have a cable operator that's providing telephone service, internet service, and over the past few years, we've held the telecom industry that now wants to get into the cable business. So what's taken place, a lot of lobbying was done in Congress and the FCC and so on by the telecom industry to change the laws. Some states passed laws changing it and so on. And of all the issues, this was without a doubt the largest issue. But let me tell you, I think that your city has done one of the hardest jobs of working on this issue and tried to work together with all the providers in a way that I think simply complies with what the FCC arrived at in a very difficult process. The Federal Communication Commission adopted what they call franchising orders, 2 orders in late 2007, after hearing from industry across the board, from organizations, municipal, from private industry, and so on, about this particular issue. And they arrived at a conclusion, despite criticism of cities for not allowing competition, for it being difficult to enter, and so on. They arrived at some guidelines of what is reasonable and what is unreasonable in terms of this kind of a provision. And so the ordinance that was drafted here, I think, as really mandated by these franchising orders of the FCC, was cities should need to be specific about the requirements, because the existing incumbent operators say if you allow somebody in without having any requirements at all, you're allowing cherry picking. That's unfair to us because we put in a tremendous investment. The new entrants come in and say, well, we can't come in and compete with somebody that's already been there for a number of years. It's too costly, and so on. So how do you resolve this issue and make it fair? So basically what the Federal Communication Commission came down with, and what we followed in the process here, is that you allow a new entrant to come in at a reasonable initial service area, because actually the Federal Cable Act, I should step back, says that you have to allow reasonable time for completion of construction. Number one. Number two, it also says that anybody that's going to come in and get a franchise from you has to have the legal, technical, and financial qualifications to actually do what they're supposed to do. So what they said in making this more specific is you have to allow a reasonable time for completion of construction and to allow market success before requiring them to move on and to develop or expand further than the initial service area. And that's what we've put in this ordinance, is following that approach. There are benchmarks in there. There's an initial service area. Then after you've completed the initial service area, you have to expand beyond. But there's flexibility. If you don't have any degree of market success and you haven't achieved competition with subscribership and have a sufficient number of subscribers, you can request a delay as this new entrant and allow a reasonable time for delay and have flexibility so you can build up that market success before you're obligated to move on and build out further. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is that I understand your concern. This is a tough issue. Your ordinance does not preclude competition. It does not preclude meaningful competition. That is by parties or providers that have legal, technical, financial qualifications and are prepared to build a system that is meaningful within your community. I've been in this business for over 30 years representing cities. In fact, I was a councilman for a number of years, as well as a city attorney. And what I have seen, the largest complaint in terms of new providers and any provider of cable service is, well, you promised us competition, but can't you get that system over to my neighborhood? And cities that have no build-out requirements, no requirement for extension of systems, are helpless because they have no leverage or any ability to require the operator to expand their system. So the bottom line here is this ordinance is fair, provides a level playing field, follows the FCC guidelines, and a good opportunity for meaningful, qualified competitors to come to your city.
Okay, my understanding is there is no FCC requirement that we have a build-out provision.
There's not a requirement.
Yeah.
That is
so
under
that's
there
the
is a-
real way to kind of try to bring competition in, instead of trying to bring in competition by all these rules and regulations. I mean, if I was a business person, I wouldn't want to take a chance building in Sioux Falls. First of all, 5 years to build out the entire city. Well, then there might be some ways that we can modify that as the business goes on. Well, you don't know if that's going to be approved. There's so much politics involved in all of this. I mean, from what I understand, the build-out provision can be 3 to 10 years, but we've chosen 5. Now, 10 years is a lot better than 5. I mean, the best is not to have any of this regulated at all. The business comes in, if they're successful, fine. If they're not, well, that's the way the market works.
Well,
we're not allowing the market to really work here. We're regulating it. Can you respond to that?
This is a regulated business.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, cities are given more authority in this particular kind of business than any other utility. You are the authority, not a public service commission. You're the authority to give somebody permission through a franchise to use your right-of-way, which is probably your most valuable asset as a city, and that privilege or opportunity is limited because there are just so many people that can build systems and so many wires that can be put out on your right-of-way. Now, the law does mandate or require build-out. The Federal Cable Act says that a municipality can require a completion of a system within a reasonable time. Now, what the FCC does is not mandate or create law that way. What it does is interpret it and arrived at a conclusion after considerable discussion, debate, hearings, and so on, of what are reasonable build-out requirements. And I guess what I'm trying to tell you is that I think that really what it boils down to, the FCC's conclusions, what we're trying to follow, is that your ordinances as a city, your franchises, and so on, need to be more specific in the requirements in fairness to all parties.
But I think this is permissive to allow us to require build-out. It's not required that we have a build-out. And so I think the citizens of Sioux Falls would like to have some competition like they do in Rapid City, where they can have lower rates than what we have right now. So I don't think this is doing a favor to the citizens of Sioux Falls.
Well, and with all due respect to your opinion on that, as your consultant, all I can tell you in my experience, which has been over 30 years in this business, it is reasonable to have requirements governing the use of your right-of-way And in terms of following the guidelines with regard to cable service, the complaints and issues that I have experienced relate to where cities do not have reasonable guidelines and requirements. And these requirements are not unreasonable. But the ultimate decision is yours. And that's why I say with due respect to your opinion, because you're the policymaker, the decision maker for the city. All I can do is express my experienced opinion for you.
Further questions? Go ahead.
I guess one of the questions I would have is if you don't have build-out regulations, how are you going to prevent cherry picking?
Well, you can't. And beyond that, all the promises, you probably know about 21 states in this country passed legislation, some of which simply did not have build-out requirements, and nothing has happened. A lot of lobbying took place to create changes in these laws and frankly take away from some cities the authority to regulate, to franchise cable providers, or to have these kinds of requirements or any meaningful requirements. And nothing has taken place. And in a lot of places where there has been all of these promises, the services have not been delivered. Wisconsin, for that matter, because there's been so much debate about it, they passed one of these laws. It's been a disaster. And a congresswoman from Wisconsin has just put a bill in Congress on October 9th, a new competitive cable access law defining all this technological change and to get back to city regulatory authority.
Further questions? Thank you very much. Others that wish to address the council on item number 16? Or 17, we're at 17, excuse me. Others that wish to address the council on item 17? Not? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve, Costello.
Costello moves. Is there a second?
Second, Benninga.
Benninga seconds. Motion been made. Further motions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'd like to make a motion to make the changes to sections 44-31 and 44-43 to provide clarification to build-out provisions of the cable franchise ordinance. And I'd like the city clerk to please read the amendments into the record.
Is there a second to that?
Second, Anderson.
Anderson seconds. Okay, go ahead.
This is Deborah Owen. Section 44-31 would be the build-out new subdivisions. The amendment would be as follows: to strike the first paragraph in its entirety and then add the line, "A grantee shall extend cable service to all areas of the city with a density of 30 homes per mile at no cost for cable extension other than the standard installation fees charged to all subscribers and in accordance with its franchise and consistent with the rules and guidelines of the FCC, except the Main Street Business Improvement District as defined by 39. Further would be to amend the second paragraph to strike the word written, and then before notice, and then after the word notice would be to add two grantees. And then finally in that section would be to strike the last paragraph and have it read thus. Should the grantee determine that a line extension is economically unfeasible, the grantee and the developer agree to negotiate in good faith toward an equitable agreement. If the grantee and the developer arrive at impasse, disputes over the extension shall be decided by the City Council 30 days after receipt of written request by either party. The next section would be 44-33. That would be to strike the first sentence in that first paragraph. So the paragraph would begin with the words "within 1 year," and then it would also include the striking of the second paragraph in its entirety, and that would be all of the proposed changes.
Questions? Others that wish to address the council on just that amendment?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Dan Nelson representing Mid-Continent Communications. This amendment was a product of negotiation between our company and the home builders of the Sioux Empire, and we are trying to make sure that when we have requests for new development going forward, that we can work together to solve these problems. What you saw in the amendment as offered kind of takes government back out of the relationship between the two of us to get these services extended to new areas. And we have, as private parties, affirmed that it's best for us to work this out, and we did leave the impasse provision in there. If we're not able not to come to agreement, that we'll come back to you to have you decide, but we don't anticipate that. We'd love to be back here 15 years from now and say this provision was never used, and that is our intent.
Questions of Dan? Thank you, Dan. Others that wish to address the council on the Litz amendment? Seeing none, all in favor of the Litz amendment will vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmember Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson Jr.?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes. All members present have voted. That amendment has been approved 8-0. Any other amendments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have an amendment. I make a motion to make the following changes to Section 44-67. Delete subsection B and replace it with this provision. The franchise fee shall be deposited into the city treasury, and delete the phrase "and community grant" in subsection D.
Is there a second?
Second, Anderson.
Anderson seconds. May I ask what the reason is? Just put it in the general fund instead of leaving it in the community grant?
Well, we're just trying to simplify things, to put it into the treasury. And also, at the same time, what we're trying to do is to make sure that the franchise fee goes totally to the city of Sioux Falls.
So you want it to go in there, and then it would be just in the general funds,
That's correct.
and so it may not go back to the purpose of what it was intended to.
Well, the main thing about this, it allowed the city council to make that decision, yes.
But then why if we're not going to use it for the intended purpose of a grant to go to those entities, why even charge the people for it?
Well, that's my preference, actually.
Well,
But,
then we should
so
have
what I'm
more
trying to
for
do
that.
is at least make this a little bit better.
Because to me, if we're going to use it as a grant, and that should be used as a grant and not go into general funds where we may never use it.
We're not using it as a grant, with my amendment.
You want to just put it in general funds?
Yes, right.
Go ahead.
I'm not very excited about the amendment, and I guess it's for the reason that in the 7 years plus that I've been on city council, I've just continued to be impressed with the strength of Channel 16, the growth of Channel 16, and from my standpoint, the federal folks in this area make it permissive for communities like ours to collect this user fee, as I think of it as, and before that, the latest cable law went into effect, I believe that those companies had to, I think they were required on their own to run a city government channel and an education channel themselves, and I just think that school districts and cities are in a much better position to run quality standards, and I'm worried that if it goes into the general fund with all the tremendous needs of cities, that it will not end up where I would like to see it. So I will not be supporting the amendment.
Go ahead, Pat.
Mr. Mayor, we on the council, we've had a lot of discussion about this, but I wonder for the sake of the listening audience and the attendees, if maybe Karen, could you use 2 minutes on what the community grant is about and the history behind it, please?
The community grant does, under federal law, we were allowed to negotiate with the cable operator a community grant which could be used towards your PEG access channels, and those are public, educational, and governmental access channels. The school district was not at the table, but as your franchising authority, the city, we had a right to negotiate on their behalf funds for their educational portion. Currently in Sioux Falls, we just use the EGG portion, the educational and governmental portion of the access channels. We do not have a public channel at this time. And the purpose for adding this into as part of the franchise fee is is because you can negotiate with the cable operator a community grant, rather than require them to support, just as Councilor Knutson stated, rather than have them actually set up your Channel 16 and run it and finance it. It became clear back in, I think, 92, and then when the Cable Act was amended again in 1996, that cable operators would rather just give financial support so that the community could run those channels themselves. And as a result of that, we added this language into the ordinance because it is a right that we could negotiate for that. I would point out that Mid-Continent did not oppose us adding that into the ordinance itself, and we felt that by having a separate fund, if they gave us money, we should be able to line item back that we used the money for the purpose that they gave it to us. And so that is the background on that.
And there's nothing that requires us, just to be clear, there's nothing that requires us to do this, but it's an option that we have.
Exactly. It's permissible. And so if I could just comment on, I would recommend you keep the ordinance as is, even if the City Council tonight doesn't exercise its right to grant a community grant or authorize a community grant. I just have to remind you that this is a 10 or 15-year agreement, and in 2 years you can review this every 2 years as a City Council, and if you see the needs of these channels grow and the City Council in a couple years does want to exercise its options, you would have it. But if you do adopt the amendment as proposed, you're removing your option from ever considering a community grant in the future. And I did want to point that out. As for the amendment of having it deposited in the city treasury, I did take a look at that, and Section 252 already does say that any money that the city derives from public utilities or from any other sources shall be paid into the city treasury. So this is duplicative of what we've already codified into ordinance in Section 252.
Go ahead.
Yes, Karen, do you have any insight as to why Midco did not object to this community grant and things like that?
Well, I won't speak on their behalf because they are here tonight, but I would state that it's not unusual for a community grant to happen, or for the financial contribution to come from the cable operator to support your PEG access channels.
Yeah. I mean, I think the primary reason why Midco did not object is because it's a pass-through, and we're having the citizens pay for this. Midco is not really paying for it.
They are allowed to pass through the franchise
Yes, right.
fee.
So
it is permissible.
it's the citizens that are paying for it in reality. That's the reason there's no objection to it.
They could object, but I won't speak for them. If you want any comment, you're certainly welcome to.
Dan Nelson, representing Mid-Continent. Cities are allowed, under the federal guidelines, to charge a franchise fee of up to 5%. The amount being proposed by the city of Sioux Falls is under 5%. That's how much we interact with the mechanism, whether it's at the maximum or something less than the maximum. Your proposal is at something less than the maximum. And Mr. Mayor, if I might, as a point of a clarification for a previous statement, our rates are equal in Sioux Falls and Rapid City.
Thank you for that. Others that wish to address the council on the proposed amendment? Go ahead, Pat. Dan.
Could you shed some history? Karen indicated that historically cable providers were responsible for operating some of this equipment and channels. Did Mid-Continent at any time or previously provide those services to the city?
We have, in all the communities we serve, we have contributed toward support of those public channels. Sometimes by requirement of the agreement, oftentimes because we're supportive of local broadcasting and coverage of local events and the kinds of things you do with something like Channel 16. We sometimes are required in an agreement to provide that support. As far as Channel 16, now K-Learn with the city, previously OWL in the past, I know that we've given them equipment and we've interacted with them on how the technology works, but I'm not aware that we provided a direct financial subsidy to those that I'm aware of.
Tom Simmons, Senior Vice President, Mid-Continent. I'm older than Dan is. At one time, we were required to do those type of things about 2 franchises ago. You might recall, for any who have been around at that time, that camera operators and those type of things were provided as a part of a franchise agreement. In the last franchise agreement that we have that expires now at the end of this year, there was an early provision that we would offer, or we would offer a camera operator for city council meetings before they became automated. An agreement was reached in that franchise that we would provide the operator, but the city paid for their services. So there has been an even transition from those particular times to now, and obviously technology is removing a lot of those things. Our position on all of this has been in the discussion a level of support, not just because the fees would be passed through, but obviously as the provider of good quality programming, we would like very much for the public channels to be about as good as they can be. And I think, frankly, Sioux Falls is an excellent example of how you can best utilize that type of channel for both the government channel and also the educational channel. Granted, we do pass that through to our customers, as is our right, and again, this ordinance does allow up to a 5% increase, but that small amount is a pass-through to keep those channels alive, I think, on behalf of the citizens of Sioux Falls, from every indication I have, is well worth it.
Thank you very much, Tom. Further comments?
Karen twisted my arm to get up and make a couple comments. I think I'm older than he is as far as that goes. Actually, that was the beginning of this whole thing, is cable operators did all of this. And you know what else they did? Something called local origination. And that was before we had the satellite programming and all the other cable services. When cable started, in fact, when I started in Bloomington, I think we had 9 or 10 channels that were offered on a cable system, the first franchise. And how did you fill up these channels? There were only 3 broadcast stations. We had 1 access channel. The cable operator provided that, provided the equipment, the personnel, the facilities, the studio, and so on. Then on top of that, they produced other programming to fill up the channels called local origination. They'd go out and videotape, for example, the parades in town, the high school athletics, and so on. And as time went on in the 80s, and we got satellites delivered programming and expansion of programs that could be put on the televisions, cable operators drifted away from that. Cities became more interested in it. And when you talk about a pass-through, a little bit of the business side of the cable business, they pass through the cost of programming, all programming. That's what a cable operator is. He buys programming from CNN, buys programming from Eastpan. They pass through that cost for that program that they are paying the producer of the programming to the subscriber. But since you are now the producer of this program, the local community programming, you're simply doing the same thing that the cable operator is defraying the costs and expenses for that programming. So it's no different, really.
Thank you. Other questions? Others that wish to address the council on the amendment? Go ahead.
Well, yes, I guess I might as well also just let the audience know that there have been a number of people concerned that this community grant is not going exclusively to the city. We're also, if this continues, we would be subsidizing another local governmental entity, the school district. And I know some people are concerned whether we should be in the business of subsidizing other governmental entities. I mean, we've done this in the past with other government entities, and sometimes you got to draw the line and say, well, enough's enough. And so this is what this amendment also does. It prevents that.
Well, I think both the City Channel and K-Learn provide really some good programming for the citizens of Sioux Falls, and I think it benefits us all in a great way. And so, I think that it is a good use of the funds that come there. But I think more importantly, if we aren't going to use it for the intended purpose that I believe it should be used for, and just put it in the general fund, then I think we should just delete the whole part of that where we raise the fee at all.
Yeah, but also at the same time, I don't know, maybe Dan can speak to this, but are there really many cities in South Dakota that have this community grant, or are we one of the few? I mean, I think we're one of the few, aren't we?
If your question was South Dakota,
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that it's relatively rare. We provide service in 3 states, and there is a special dedicated fund in several of the cities that we serve in the 3-state area, but it is relatively rare in South Dakota.
Dan, is that a function of size? I mean, I'm sure Baltic might have a hard time providing a channel.
Coincidentally, Baltic is showing this programming right now. So they don't have their own, they borrow yours. Sometimes it's a function of size, but also in Minnesota, as Mr. Herbst alluded to, they have somewhat of kind of a different lineage in Minnesota, the way they have done this and pursued it as the industry and the technology has evolved. So when I was careful to say among our 3 states, probably we would see it the most in Minnesota of the states that we serve.
Thank you, Dan. Others who wish to address the council on the proposed amendment? Further comments? Not. Got the amendment before us that is to take the franchise fee and put from the community grant, put into the city treasury. All in favor of that motion, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmember Costello?
No.
Jameson?
No.
Knutson?
No.
Litz?
No.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
No.
Benega?
No.
That motion fails. We're back to the main motion as amended. Is there further comments on the main motion on items number, is it 17 that we're on? Item 17, go ahead.
It's a little bit unrelated, but Karen, we're changing the revenue definition and lowering the rate from 3% to 2%. And by doing this, we are automatically changing the rate for the OVS systems as well, correct?
I'm glad you raised that question. I did go back and look at the OVS ordinance. I just want to pull it out here. Under the OVS ordinance, which is found in Chapter 41, which is a different chapter from here, Section 41404B2A says the amount of the fees on the gross revenue will be the rate imposed by the city on the existing franchise cable operator. So what I had intended to do was, depending on what rate the council sets tonight, would be bringing a separate ordinance in front of you to match the rate that gets set here tonight, because that's mandatory under the OVS.
And then along with that, will we be able to redefine the definition for them as well, so that there's parity between the OVS and the cable operators on their revenue and the rate?
The short answer is no, because OVS operators have different federal regulation defining gross revenue. And so they have been operating under a different gross revenue definition than what the cable operators operate under. And I think that under federal law, that's acceptable to do that. I'll let Adrian answer further if you'd like, because he knows some of the history of the OVS regulation.
It just seems that in the sense of fair play, that those revenue definitions and the rates should be similar.
And that's something certainly I think if the body would like to do that, we can go back and adjust that as well. But then that would reopen up the OVS license for knowledge and to renegotiate some of the terms of their agreement.
I would just encourage the administration to pursue that a little bit more. I think that that's just in the sense of fair play. That's something we ought to make sure that we're doing, that we have an equal playing ground.
Okay. I'll take that back.
Further comments on the...
Mayor, Councilor Costello, would you please just tell the listening public what OVS means? Just, in government we talk a lot about acronyms.
Open video system, isn't it? Yeah.
Open video system.
Which essentially is...
I just have for the listening public.
which essentially is indistinguishable from cable from a consumer standpoint, but there's some technical requirements that...
The main difference for the listening public is that an OBS operator has to keep two-thirds of their pipe open for other video programming to occur, whereas a cable operator does not.
Further comments on item number 17 as amended? We've got the proposed amendment by Litz and Anderson. Further comments on the motion?
Yeah, we're voting, having a final vote now.
Final vote, yes.
Yeah. I guess just a few comments.
Okay.
The first concern I have with this ordinance is that it is 53 pages long, and so it is very, very extensive. But having said that, it's never even gone to a council committee for us to take a closer look at. And so that is one thing I'm very concerned about, because there's a lot of other things that we should also be talking about in this ordinance, too, that we haven't. But also, it's pretty obvious that I'm concerned here about the build-out provision. It's creating an illusion of competition. We're not going to have any real competition, even though we had this build-out provision. I wish we had an economist here tonight to talk about this, because I find it hard to believe that any business would want to take a chance like this to bring competition into Sioux Falls. The FCC does not require us to have this build-out provision, and if we didn't have the build-out provision, hey, we could allow anybody to come in and see if they can compete and be successful. But now we don't have that at all. And so the result is that we're not going to have any choice in Sioux Falls when it comes to cable providers at all. We're going to have one cable provider essentially for all of Sioux Falls. No choice for the citizens of Sioux Falls. No competition to possibly bring down prices. I know many people pride Sioux Falls as being a progressive community, but this is certainly not an action of a progressive community, protecting one company in providing service to the city of Sioux Falls and its residents. So primarily because of this build-out provision, I will be voting against this ordinance.
I just have as council chair, Councilor Staggers, I mean, we had a very in-depth presentation previously, and we've had a number of side conversations with people from Mid-Continent and our staff. Never once did you or anyone else request that this go to a committee, and we certainly could have gone that route had you. And as far as not having the debate about the content of the amendment, let's have it. What are your concerns? Let's bring it to the table. That's why we're here tonight.
Okay. To respond to that, if I have a substitute motion to defer this and have it go to committee, would you support that, Mr. Costello?
I guess I've done enough research that I'm comfortable voting, but I'd let the council vote and decide.
So would you go ahead and second
No, I
it
would
then?
not support
No, you wouldn't
that.
second. Okay.
Got the motion before us on item 17 that's been made and seconded by Costello and Benega, and the proposed amendment has been approved by Litz, and Anderson's amendment has been approved. So we're back to the main motion. Have further comments? If not, all in favor of approving item 17 as amended will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no.
Councilmember Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 17 has been approved. 6 yes, 1 no, and 1 excused as amended. Item 18.
Item 18 is a second reading, an ordinance approving the cable system franchise renewal agreement between Mid-Continent Communications and the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, along with authorizing the mayor to sign the same.
Karen Leonard, Assistant City Attorney. The ordinance that is being considered by you tonight is an ordinance approving the franchise renewal agreement between Mid-Continent Communication and the City of Sioux Falls, along with authorizing the mayor to sign the same. As has been mentioned earlier, Mid-Continent's current franchise expires December 29th of this year. The city has, under federal law, been allowed to renegotiate the renewal of their franchise for the last 3 years, which we have done. And this is a 10-year agreement with an option for a 5-year renewal. It specifically recommends that Mid-Continent pay a 2.5% franchise fee, and 0.5% would be dedicated as a community grant. It does incorporate the ordinance directly into the agreement. It also allows the city to request 2 additional PEG access channels during the course of their franchise if the city can demonstrate need. Any questions?
Questions of Karen? Thank you very much. Others that wish to address the council on item number 18? Is there a motion to approve?
I so move. Knutson.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second, Litz.
Litz seconds. Further comments, further motions?
Yeah, I've already spoken quite a bit on this, but let me just mention a couple points on this one. In effect, this is a 15-year agreement with one company. And also, of course, I'm concerned about the 2.5% franchise fee, which is simply a pass-through which the consumer will be paying for. You can see this on your bill. Those are my primary concerns about this.
Okay, we've got a motion been made and seconded. Further comments? Not all in favor of approving item number 18 will vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmember Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 18 has been approved, 6 yes, 1 no, and 1 excused. Item 27.
Item 27 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, setting the franchise fee and community grant collected from Mid-Continent Communications, the cable operator.
Again, Karen Leonard from the City Attorney's Office. This resolution is being adopted pursuant to Section 4467 of the Cable Regulatory Ordinance that you just adopted. It would set that Mid-Continent Communication, the cable operator, pay annually a sum of 2.5% of its annual gross revenue as compensation for the franchise. 1.5% of the franchise fee would separately be designated as a community grant to finance capital requirements for PEG access channels and for interconnection of the institutional network needs, meaning connecting cable up to our public buildings, to be shared equally 50-50 with the city and the Sioux Falls School District.
Questions of Karen on item number 27? Others that wish to address the council on item number 27?
I move for approval of item number 27, Knutson.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Costello seconds. Further comments on the motion?
Yeah, this is where we formally impose the so-called franchise fee, which is all the citizens of Sioux Falls will be paying. I think I'm correct in saying that there is not a requirement that we do this. Am I correct on that?
It's within your discretion.
Yes, right.
That's correct. But, you can look at, again, this is real estate. It's not a tax or anything like that. It's a rental payment for the use of public property. But it is within your discretion.
Yes, but also, if I can ask, this is really paid for by the citizens of Sioux Falls, isn't it? It's paid, yeah. It's not paid for by the...
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Sure.
So, I guess I don't want the citizens to pay for it.
Okay.
Further comments? Got a motion been made and seconded to approve item number 27. Seeing no further comments, all in favor of approving will vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmember Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz? Staggers?
No.
Anderson Jr.?
No.
Benega?
Yes.
Do I ask Litz again? Mr. Litz?
Yes.
You have 5 yes and 2 no and 1 absent.
That motion has been approved, 5 yes, 2 no, and 1 excused. Now we're back to item 19.
Item 19 is in here somewhere. Item 19 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising Chapter 18, Garbage and Recycling.
Good evening, Dave McElroy, Landfill Superintendent. It's our understanding the council would like to defer this to the Public Service Committee, and we can support this, but we would like to recognize that there are several haulers, community members, and recycling facilities in the audience. We'd like to thank them for showing their support and coming. We have had 7 solid waste planning board meetings on this matter, and there's a considerable amount of discussion and thoughts that we've had on this. And we would ask that you would invite all the interested parties, the haulers, and the recycling facilities to this future committee meeting, and we would like to get this resolved before the end of the year.
Question. I'm not opposed to this, but I'm on the Public Services Committee, and I guess I've missed something. I hadn't heard that the majority of the City Council had decided to transfer this to Public Services Committee, or I hadn't heard the chair say that, so I'm sorry, I guess I missed the vote on this.
Prior to the meeting, a number of councilors approached me about deferring this to the Public Service Committee, and
Thank you.
I believe it was addressed with the mayor as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm fine with that. I just was just kind of unaware of it.
I would, if I might, I mean, if there are a number of haulers or people pertinent to this that might like to say a couple words on it, maybe we could have that opportunity.
Sure.
Tom Wilford, Mr. Mayor and Council. I have a concern about the incentive program included in Section 1830N to reward haulers for the to reward haulers who exceed the recycling goal, the recycler or the hauler's recycling goal by 50% or more. With the growth of single stream recycling, it's my opinion that the amount of garbage that is included in recyclable material being brought in as recyclable material has also increased. Therefore, some haulers may be benefiting in the way of higher percentage weights of recycling because of garbage that is included with recycling through no fault of the hauler, but just an inherent problem with single stream recycling. Just my personal experience is having seen lumber, tree branches, all types of stuff that certainly aren't considered recyclable included with this. Our business, Mars Sanitary in Brandon, which, as we should, must abide by the rules of the Sioux Falls Regional Landfill. When we have a customer who is including items that are not recyclable, frankly, we throw it away. We throw away the whole can full that day or tub full or whatever, and leave them a letter explaining what they have done wrong. It's our opinion that recycling will only be economical and efficient when the consumer does the sorting themselves. They rinse the jugs out. They put the trash in the trash can and the recyclable material all together according to the hauler's wishes. I guess the concern is there's in the PowerPoint that you would have seen, at least in an informational meeting, there was one slide that showed the recycling rates for 2008. If this program were in effect in the year 2008, with the incentive to be paid in the year 2009, there would have been 2 haulers, and I don't know who they are. I'm sure you don't either. But there would have been 2 haulers who would have qualified because of their percentage being 21% and 24%. Both of those would have exceeded the goal for haulers by 50%, according to the proposed ordinance. Either one of those 2 haulers, depending on the amount of trash that was being hauled with their recycling, their weight could have been high enough because of that trash to put them into the category to receive an incentive or a credit on their bill as a reward for their high weights. My concern is that a hauler could potentially qualify for this rebate because of garbage that has been included with recycling, and how do you tell how much of the weight that's hauled in is trash and how much of it is recyclable material that can be passed on down the chain and truly recycled. The trash has to be hauled to the landfill eventually, and I would hate to see a situation where a hauler is rewarded for achieving a high percentage of recycling, and then have a certain amount of that recyclable material hauled out the back door to the landfill anyway. It's to a certain extent it's unavoidable, but I don't think that we should be setting up a system where there could be a reward for a high weight of recycling, a high recycling tonnage or whatever, when a certain percentage of that just clearly is not recyclable material.
Since we aren't going to take any action tonight on this issue, and it's going to go to did you, Public
Yeah, I have a
Works?
question.
Just a second, let me finish my comment, okay? Then I want since this is going to Public Works, maybe it'd be better to make this discussion in Public Works as we go there. Go ahead now.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Section 18-7. This is one area, the proposed ordinance, I'm very concerned about, where we're going to have the landfill director being able to formulate lots of rules and so forth on garbage haulers. Now, from my perspective, this is taking away the authority of the city council. Now, you're a garbage hauler. What is your perspective on this? Or any thoughts about it?
I would have to confess that my ability to respond is somewhat limited to because not understanding the ins and outs of city government. But I do think that in general it is better for elected officials to make rules. I just believe the accountability is higher for an elected official to make rules for businesses to follow than appointed officials. That's the extent of my comment on that, I guess.
Mr. Mayor, I would only requested that we hear these because some of these people may not be able, they've been here, they thought it was going to be.
Is there anybody that cannot make it when they set a time for the Public Service Committee to go to the Public Service Committee and hear this out? Okay. Do you want to make the motion that
We want to defer this until?
Yeah, I move to defer this until December 14th and have it transferred to the Public Services Committee.
Second.
Okay, the motion made and seconded to defer till December 14th and send to the Public Service Committee.
Just question, is it, I just assume that's not enough time. I mean, the Public Service Committee doesn't even meet until December 14th, and I can't imagine that, or do you all think that we'll have all this ironed out in one committee meeting? I mean, why are we saying December 14th? That's my question.
Well, December 14th is where we'll bring it up at the Public Services Committee meeting.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood you.
When I asked Mr. Cotter earlier, there was no deadline on this. So
Okay.
I wanted to be able to take a look at it and address the concerns of the haulers. I've received several emails that I would like to address with those.
Oh, and I'm fine with that.
You don't want it on the calendar on 14th then?
I think that's our next meeting is December 14th.
That's Public Service next meeting, so you just want it at the Public Service, but you don't want to have it at the
I'd
council
like,
meeting.
okay, then just defer it until it comes out of committee.
If I could, I think it would be referred to committee.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
But you're going to hear it on the 14th, is that right?
Correct.
Well,
Just in committee.
In the committee, right. That's
so should we refer this to committee and then it can get recalendared at a later date, or do we need
You
to
can do that.
specify a date?
Sure do that. Sure do that.
Then I move
Just
to
want
refer
it
this to
committee,
the Public
okay.
Services Committee.
And that's okay with the second of the Mayor Kermit? That's okay with you?
Yes, that's fine with
Okay.
me.
Everybody understand? We're going to bring it back and bring it at a later date, I guess, to the council. So it'll go back on the 14th, and they'll hear it. All in favor of that motion, yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmember Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson Jr.?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Okay, that has been accomplished. We will send it back to public service. Item number 20.
Item 20 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending Section 35-113 of Division 1, Article 3 of Chapter 35, pertaining to investment of assets of the firefighters' pension fund.
Excuse me, Gail Eastland, City Attorney's Office. I'm going to be dealing with item 21 as well, since 20 and 21 are virtually the same. I don't know, Tamara, if you wanted to read item 21 now, or wait.
Do you want me to read item 21?
Yeah, go ahead.
Item 21 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending Section 35-50 of Division 1, Article 2 of Chapter 35 pertaining to investment of assets of the employees' retirement system.
Thank you. Item 20 is an amendment to the investment of funds provision in the ordinances on the firefighters' pension fund. Item 21 is an amendment to the investment funding in the ordinances related to the other pension fund, the employees' retirement system. And originally, we had scheduled an informational presentation for the council on these changes for today, but leadership requested we reschedule that to December 7th because it was a full docket today, and that's fine. But basically, what these changes are updates to the investment funding ordinances for the two pension funds, because those ordinances haven't been amended since 1969. And in the 40 years since then, investment strategies change. And this is simply an effort to bring things up to date. So we will be having an informational presentation on December 7th with Sherry Rodert from Boyce Greenfield Law Firm here, who drafted these ordinance changes as the expert on basically investment law. I'm here to present to the council.
Questions of Gail on items number 20 and 21? Let's go 22.
Item 22 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at Brennan Drive and Sycamore Avenue from the C4 Planned Commercial District to the RA1 Residential District, petition number 2009-1007, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. This request is by Costello Company, and the property consists of just under 2 acres of land located in the northeast part of Sioux Falls, north of Brennan Drive and east of Sycamore Avenue. The property originally was zoned for commercial development, and this change will allow for the development of 2 8-unit apartment buildings.
Questions on 22? Let's go 23.
Item 23 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at South Klein Avenue and West 56th Street from the RA1 Residential District to the RD Residential District, petition number 2009-1001, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition by Empire Homes. The property consists of just over 2 acres of land. It is located south of 56th Street and west of Klein Avenue. And the developer originally had this approved for higher density apartments, and now the request is to change the zoning for construction of 5 4-unit townhomes.
Questions of Mike on item 23? Item 24.
Item 24 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending Chapter 15 of Appendix B of the revised ordinances of Sioux Falls, South Dakota by revising final development plan exceptions. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a staff-initiated request to amend the zoning ordinance based on discussions that we've had in the past with developers. When a subdivision comes in for zoning to a planned development district, typically that includes things like schools and churches and oftentimes the developer wants to put in a private clubhouse. With the plan development zoning as it currently exists, once the zoning is approved, they have to come back through the Planning Commission for a second public hearing called a final development plan. And what we'd like to do is exempt the clubhouses, the schools, and churches from going through that second public hearing, similar to the exemption that's currently allowed for the residential uses within those plan development districts.
Questions of Mike on item 24?
Yeah, Mike, have you planned to have this go to committee? Because this is dealing with policy change.
Pardon me?
Have you thought about having this go to a city council committee meeting since this deals with policy change?
No, I mean, it's gone through the Planning Commission. I'm not sure that we have to take every future amendment through the Land Use Committee, but I'll defer that to the leadership.
This does deal with policies, the reason I was mentioning it.
Questions? Where are others? 25.
Item 25 is a first reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations. Health Department, $372,483.
Jill Franken, Assistant Health Director. This item is to appropriate to the general fund supplemental funds to include federal stimulus grant monies that we received in March of this year. It'll also include a base adjustment to our federal grant from the Bureau of Primary Health Care that we received in May of this year. And it is also to include dollars for oral health expansion grant that we received in September of this year. Along with that, these grant funds, the visits and activity in our clinic, Falls Community Health that's generated from that, will also generate additional revenues from Medicaid payments that's also included.
Questions of Jill on item 25?
Jill, can you tell us what kind of growth that the health department's had in dental and mental health services this year so far?
So far this year, we have seen dental services increase by about 30% for the dentists, but some of that's related to the ability to add an additional dentist.
Right.
We had 2 dentists on staff, and now we have 3, and that has been extremely beneficial for us. We still have a little bit of a waiting list for people to be able to seek services, but it is certainly making a large impact. This also will allow us to do additional services in the school-based sites that we have, which are 2, and that will allow us to do some preventive care to children in the highest need schools in our community. Mental health services, it will also allow us to increase, and that is becoming a much higher need, and along with everything, we're seeing some economic, the impacts of the economy on our patients specifically, and so this is causing a little bit more issue with the need for mental health services.
Does this include the program with the dental hygienists that we incorporated with the dental services with a 30% growth, or is that just a standalone issue?
We've also seen an increase in our hygiene as well. That's been about right around 15-20% increase.
Thank you.
Further questions? Now, is there a motion to set the hearing date for December 7th for items 20 to 25?
So moved. Jamison.
Jamison moves. Is there a second?
Second, Benninga.
Benninga seconds. Further comments on the motion to set the hearing date for December 2nd for items 20 to 25? All in favor of that motion, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmembers Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
All members present voted. The hearing date has been set for December 2nd for items 20 through 25, 8-0. Item 26 has been deferred. Item 27 has been voted upon. So we're at item 28.
Item 28 is the resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving the placement of a sculpture located on city property, I've Been Kissed, at Sertoma Park Outdoor Campus Butterfly Garden.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Russ Sorensen with the City Planning Office, representing the next 2 agenda items. Before you this evening are 2 resolutions to approve sculpture placements. The first placement is for a bronze sculpture known as I've Been Kissed on city property leased by the state of South Dakota at Sertoma Park. The Sioux Falls Visual Arts Commission and the Parks and Recreation Department encourages and recommends outdoor exhibitions of public art in our community. This is a 2008 entry consisting of a beautiful, colorful toad that has human hand characteristics. And this sculpture was purchased by the South Dakota Parks and Wildlife Foundation, and it will be placed at the edge of the butterfly garden just south of the outdoor campus. Both the Visual Arts Commission and the Parks Board unanimously recommended approval of this sculpture placement.
Questions of Russ on item number 28? Go ahead.
Yeah, Russ, the September 5th, 2009 minutes of the Park Board indicate, quote, "The sculpture has already been placed." So why are we voting on this tonight?
The sculpture has been placed as far as the volunteer labor that was put there, but we're reaffirming that placement through this process.
Okay, so we got a little ahead of the game here by placing it before we
With
approved it.
volunteers, absolutely.
Okay.
Further questions? Others that wish to address the council on item number 28? Not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Knutson.
Knutson moves, is there a second?
Second, Litz.
Litz seconds. Further comments on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve item 28, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmembers Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson Jr.?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 28 has been approved 8-0.
Item 29 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving the placement of a sculpture located on city property, Circle of Friends, on Phillips Avenue near the Orpheum Theater.
Thank you. Russ Sorensen, the City Planning Office. This is a resolution to approve the placement of the sculpture known as the Circle of Friends on city right-of-way property in front of the Orpheum Theater along Phillips Avenue. It's a bronze sculpture. It was designed and constructed by Karen Crane of Colorado. The sculpture was part of the 2008 Sculpture Walk program and was placed in front of the Orpheum Theater's main east entrance along Phillips Avenue. It's also important to know that this is also the Sculpture Walk program's 2008 People's Choice Award, a selection made by the public, and the sculpture was purchased and is now owned by the City of Sioux Falls. This Visual Arts Commission has reviewed the proposal, and the Circle of Friends sculpture is placement and unanimously recommends approval of this placement as presented.
Questions of Russ on item number 29? Others that wish to address the council on item 29? Is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval, Benninga.
Benninga moves. Is there a second?
Second, Litz.
Litz seconds. Further comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve item 29, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmember Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 29 has been approved 8-0. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Litz.
Let's move. Second.
Second, Brown.
Brown seconds. All in favor of that motion to adjourn, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmembers Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Stand adjourned.